As the Ontario election lurches on, I'm reminded of an old journalistic maxim that there's no such thing as bad publicity, provided they spell your name right. Now, this is not strictly true. Generally, you don't want to be in a news story that gives your full name, including your middle name, because those all too often continue with the words faces charges for. But other than that, it's a pretty sound maxim, and it's good news for Tim Hudak, because people are talking about his proposals. They're often talking about them critically. When he says he's going to get rid of 100,000 jobs in the public sector, people ask, well, where exactly do you plan to get rid of them? How are you going to do that without disruption? And these are good questions, but they're questions about your policy, not about the other guys, and that's a good thing. Likewise, he says he's going to create 1 million jobs, and people start saying, well, what are the assumptions behind this? Which economists is he relying on, and is he using their material in a strictly accurate and fair-minded way? The answer may be, no, he's not. On the other hand, the answer might be, he's a politician, so what were you expecting? And I think the nitpicking will interest fewer people than the general fact that his plans are getting discussed, however fascinating it might be to oddballs like, well, David, you, and me. But I digress. The point is, Hudak seems to have, in some significant way, control of the narrative. And Kathleen Wynne, now that's a good name if you're in politics, by the way, Wynne. You'd much rather have Wynne in an election than if your name was Loser, or for that matter, McGinty. Kathleen Wynne at some point needs to put forward ideas that people can talk about. I don't think she can simply coast to victory on the basis of vague and nebulous generalities. People aren't talking about her proposals. Possibly that's because they figure, well, if we talked about Dalton McGuinty's proposals for what he was going to do before the election, we'd look like fools afterward. We've learned a lesson. Nevertheless, Wynne does have ideas, and they're somewhat troubling. The Tories, in fact, have pounced on a Moody's bond rating agency press release from May 2nd to point out that spending a lot more money and running bigger deficits might be an issue. However, it's written in kind of turgid bond rating agency language. It probably isn't the sort of thing that most people take their cues from. And anyway, anybody who pays attention to this stuff already knew it was a problem. The fact is, Wynne hasn't really said anything interesting. That leaves the field to Hudak in the obvious absence of Andrea Horwath. And that's actually a good thing for him, even if people are quibbling with what he's said.